Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will turn the pages of Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. Jane Eyre, first published in 1847, is a novel by English writer Charlotte Brontë. The story follows the life of an orphaned girl named Jane Eyre as she grows into adulthood and searches for a sense of belonging, love, and purpose. The novel is widely regarded as one of the greatest works of English literature, blending elements of Gothic romance, social criticism, and a rich exploration of personal morality and independence. Through the protagonist's emotional and psychological development, Brontë addresses complex themes such as class, gender, and spirituality. Plot summary: Jane Eyre, a young orphan, grows up in the care of her cruel aunt, Mrs. Reed, at Gateshead Hall. The household is cold and hostile towards her, especially her cousin John, who torments her relentlessly. Isolated and mistreated, Jane's only comfort is her vivid imagination and the books she escapes into. However, one fateful incident of rebellion against John's bullying leads Jane to be locked in the dreaded Red Room, where her uncle died. The room terrifies her, and the psychological toll of her mistreatment reaches a breaking point. Mrs. Reed, eager to rid herself of Jane, sends her to Lowood School, a strict and harsh institution for orphaned girls. There, Jane faces severe conditions under the hypocritical Mr. Brocklehurst, the school's headmaster, whose sermons on humility and piety contrast with the lavishness enjoyed by his own family. Despite the cold, hunger, and illness that plague Lowood, Jane forms a meaningful friendship with Helen Burns, a kind and devout girl whose quiet suffering leaves a deep impact on Jane. Helen's death from consumption further strengthens Jane's resolve to survive. Jane also finds a motherly figure in Miss Temple, the school's superintendent, whose kindness and intelligence inspire Jane to pursue her own independence. After 6 years as a student and 2 more as a teacher at Lowood, Jane yearns for freedom and new experiences. She advertises for a position as a governess and is soon offered employment at Thornfield Hall. When she arrives at the imposing estate, she meets her pupil, the lively and affectionate Adele Varens, and Mrs. Fairfax, the kindly housekeeper. Jane's life at Thornfield is quiet but content until she meets the master of the house, Edward Rochester, a dark and brooding figure whose presence alters the course of her life. Rochester is enigmatic and unpredictable, often conversing with Jane in ways that challenge and intrigue her. Despite the differences in their social standing, a bond forms between them, one that grows deeper as they spend more time together. However, strange occurrences within the halls of Thornfield disturb Jane. Eerie laughter and mysterious incidents, such as a fire in Rochester's room, unsettle her. But Rochester dismisses her concerns, attributing them to Grace Poole, a servant with peculiar habits. Rochester's growing affection for Jane culminates when he declares his love for her, and they become engaged. Jane, despite her deep love for him, remains grounded in her principles, refusing to be swayed by wealth or status. The night before their wedding, Jane experiences a haunting vision of a spectral figure in her room, further amplifying the sense of foreboding. The next day, during the wedding ceremony, a shocking revelation comes to light: Rochester is already married. Jane learns that Rochester's wife, Bertha Mason, whom he had wed years ago in Jamaica, is living in the attic of Thornfield. Bertha, who suffers from violent madness, has been hidden away for years under the care of Grace Poole. Rochester admits he was deceived into the marriage by Bertha's family, who concealed her mental illness. Though he begs Jane to stay with him, promising her a life of love despite the scandal, Jane's moral compass refuses to allow her to live as his mistress. Heartbroken but resolute, she leaves Thornfield, choosing her integrity over her passion. Jane's flight from Thornfield leads her into hardship. Penniless and alone, she wanders the moors until she is taken in by the Rivers family, St. John, a stern clergyman, and his sisters, Diana and Mary. Jane recovers her strength and takes a position as a village schoolteacher. Over time, she forms a close bond with the Rivers siblings, especially with St. John, though his cold demeanor leaves Jane unsettled. Eventually, Jane learns that she is related to the Rivers family and that she has inherited a large fortune from her uncle, John Eyre. Overjoyed by the newfound family and wealth, she shares her inheritance with her cousins. St. John, driven by his rigid sense of duty, asks Jane to marry him and accompany him to India as a missionary. Though she respects his convictions, Jane refuses, knowing that theirs would be a loveless marriage built on duty rather than affection. Her heart still belongs to Rochester, and a mysterious voice calling her name in the wind strengthens her resolve to return to him. Jane makes her way back to Thornfield, only to find the grand estate in ruins. She learns that Bertha Mason set fire to the house, and in the ensuing chaos, Rochester lost his sight and one of his hands while trying to save her. Bertha perished in the flames. Jane seeks him out at Ferndean, a remote manor where he now lives, isolated and blind. When Jane and Rochester are reunited, she finds him a changed man, humbled, repentant, and deeply vulnerable. Their love, tested by trials and separation, now flourishes in a new, equal partnership. Jane marries Rochester, and their life together is marked by mutual respect and devotion. Rochester slowly regains partial sight, allowing him to see their first child. In the end, Jane finds the belonging and love she has sought all her life, not by sacrificing her independence, but by asserting it and finding a love that complements her strength. That's all for now, but if this book spoke to you, Charlotte Brontë has more waiting for you. Find them in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Charlotte Brontë's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.